Welcome back to another video, guys. We're starting off extremely late on this episode. I had done the slightest amount of work off camera. It's currently almost 3 a.m. and I cleaned up the garage a little bit to give us some more working room. Let me turn this off so it's not too loud. So the only thing that I really did off camera was I came to here. Probably gonna be extremely hard to see. And in order to fit these cold air intakes, you have to trim the bracket that is under this. So this is for your refrigerant. And this is what basically holds the secondary air pump, and it's just a lower bracket to make everything more sturdy. This is just plastic. But and unfortunately, since we're relocating the intake, it does not fit with the stock bracket. So you have to trim it, and I have done just that. But the problem is, it's like literally 3 a.m. and I had to come out here with the damn grinder. And I made quite a bit of noise, and the lady from the HOA came out, walked up the street halfway, looked at basically me, and then went back in the house. So if I get kicked out my neighborhood, besides all that, actually I was cutting it with the grinder. I got to about here, and it just was, it's kind of thicker on this side, especially because you have to kind of cut through. But I was able to cut a good enough slit here and a good enough slit here, and then I was able to just wiggle this and bend it back and forth until it snapped off. But fortunately now we actually have a clean cut, so I'll give it a little quick sand just to make sure it's nothing too sharp. I have a bunch of extra parts laying around in the garage. I might go the extra mile and just put some rubber against that, just so in the future that's going to be a very sharp edge. But this is the bracket that we needed space for. You can see this is complete. This is where the secondary air pump bolts, and these 3 holes. But with the Dinan, they give you a relocation bracket that just uses 2. So now that we have this cut, we can actually start assembling the front end and install those intakes. So let me fix this up a little bit so it's not too crazy, and then we'll get back to the car. Okay, here is our final product. Cleaned up the bracket a tiny bit, and we threw a weather stripping on there from a bumper. I cut it, and it's perfect because it actually has a little metal wire inside, so when you bend it, it actually kind of sticks to shape. So this will be inside the car instead of, I don't know if you guys saw yesterday's episode where the E39, the silver one, that bracket was absolutely hideous, and this will actually be nice. So this will be quality, and this will be actually cut good and sealed up nice. So I might even go the extra mile and throw, I don't think it's Vegas, I don't think it would ever be a problem, but the bare metal, throw some paint on it real quick. But that's probably doing way too much and unneeded. So let me go throw this in the car, and let's make sure everything lines up and fits. Here we have the bracket installed in the car. It is very sturdy, bolted in. Here's our weather stripping seal, and you can see it's literally a perfect fit. It's literally completely flush against this. I think I did a perfect job. So let's go ahead and clean up this intake, and let's put it in and see, just to make sure that it fits. I would say that is a major success. We have the Dinan intake in with the Dinan math, and it fits flawlessly. You see, I mean, I could have left much more bracket, but when I was thinking about it, I just wanted to make it flush. I thought that would be the cleanest look, and then obviously you have to remove it anyway, and I still have the bracket right here. The only part that's actually necessary is the part that's all the way separated away. So all of this area, basically from here on, is just dead space. So it's just up to you how to cut it. I figured making it flush would look the cleanest, and I am right, it does. It gives you wiggle room, gives you space. And then I'm gonna go ahead and put in the secondary air pump just to make sure we fit that. I might have to take that back out, but it's okay. Only thing I put on was that bolt just to make sure it fit and lined up. But let's go ahead and put in the secondary air pump, and then we'll continue assembling everything as we need. Secondary air pump is cleaned up and back on the car. Cleaned up basically as best as I'm gonna get it. I don't wanna go too crazy for something that's just gonna sit down here and get dirty. So I took the intake back out just so we had enough space. We're all plugged in. I got my wiring. I'm gonna try to organize this as best as I can, and I wanna re-wrap. I mean, it was never wrapped, but I wanna wrap all the wiring they did and electrical tape. I wish I had some loom. We might come back and try to do that again, but I at least want to wrap it in tape and keep all my wires clean. I want this car to be actually nice. So this is back in. We're cleaned up here, and we're cleaned up a little bit down here. This is absolutely destroyed, so I'm just gonna end up taking that off in the future. But let's go back, remount the intake, and then go to the passenger side and do the same. Progress has been made, and boy does it look beautiful. So here we have all the intake installed with the MAFs. It's really not much, but that bracket was in the way. That's what stopped us and prolonged it. But now we are here. I cleaned off the plenum to get you guys a good look. We have clean intakes, clean MAFs, and a clean plenum. This actually looks really nice. I'm happy with this. I'm very happy with the bracket. I did actually kind of tweak the bracket when taking it off, and the air pump bracket was already not in the best shape. So I was able to kind of bend it a little bit and play with it. And it's sitting decently. This bracket is definitely kind of hard to maintain, especially with this intake. It kind of rubs against it, and that's not really good for it. So there's really not much space in here. Let me turn on flash and show you guys what I'm talking about. You can see that there's really no space in here, and you can kind of bend this back, but there's really nothing to do for it. It's just how it's gonna be. You're relocating it to a bad spot pretty much, but it's here. Everything is sturdy. This bracket is as good as it's gonna get. This is actually all bolted back in. It's kind of a mess right now of wiring for the headlights. Still gonna clean this up before we put in the headlights. But I'm gonna now tighten all these clamps down, but first I'm gonna align it and clean up in these grooves a little bit before that's bothering me. But the plenum looks good, and this intake looks amazing. Definitely a quality product and the quality fit, especially with the MAFs. So let me tighten everything down. Let me line up these clamps because I have OCD and I want all of them to be facing directly the same. And then we'll come back to you. Here is the result. I wiped the wires down, cleaned them up. I'm gonna go ahead and leave these actual connectors where they're actually soldered. I'm gonna leave that exposed. There shouldn't be any harm right there. I got it as close as I could up here without, I couldn't really move anything to get the tape in there, but it should be good. I just wanted to keep everything neat and out of the way, and I don't want any of the wires getting caught or unhooked or whatever reason. So we have them wrapped up with tape right here. Kind of hard to wrap it because this kind of separates, but extremely good and tight where it actually was connected and spliced into here, so that'll be nice and strong. And then coming down here, these get pulled on a lot, and there's a lot of stuff kind of moving around, and it is a very long wire for something that doesn't really need to be. So everything is wrapped up and safe, and then it'll just be sitting in here, and this is how it literally will be. So it'll be sitting perfectly safe and protected, just like everything else that actually comes from the factory. Maybe in the future I'll put actual wire loom around it just to make it even more pleasing to the eye. But yeah, let me do the other side, and let's continue going with this build. I'm actually very happy to do some quality work, I guess. I mean, if you even want to call this quality, but I just want to clean this car up and keep this as nice as we can. The same thing happened on this side, except whoever did the conversion to facelift headlights, they didn't wire this side the best. They tried wrapping some of the upper side with tape, which is fine because I didn't have to go over so much of it. But when you come down to here, you can see where there's a lot of weird little things. One of the actual wires had come out of the soldering connector, so I don't have soldering with me or anything to actually do it. So I had to re-splice the wire and go in there and rewrap it. So it should be okay. So I rewrapped all the soldering, everything, with tape just so everything stays connected. We'll probably have to revisit this side in the future, whether it needs it or not. I'll probably just do it anyway. So this is the side. So this is the other side, I guess. This is how we'll be leaving it for right now. They left one of the extra wiring, they left it way too long, and you can see this is just a weird looking connector right here. So it'll plug into the corner light, and then we'll run the halo up here. So we'll figure it out, but it will probably need to be rewired in the future. We'll just come back to it another day. One thing I just noticed is the absurd amount of sludge sitting up above the alternator. I don't believe it's from the valve cover. I mean, it possibly could be, but when you touch it, I mean, everything up here is dry, and then when you come down here, It's a little wet, but it's really not that wet compared to what it would be. I believe it was actively leaking. These motors are so old, and this car having 193,000 miles, you're gonna get this sludge basically anywhere. So without this being taken out or cleaned, obviously it's just gonna be like that. So we're gonna keep this monitored. I don't know if it's from the oil filter lines or if it's from the valve cover, or if we have a more serious issue going on down there. I guess we'll have to pay attention to it and see what happens, but let me know in the comments. Maybe I'm missing something or overlooking something. This could be built up sludge for 20 years, or we could have a massive oil leak somewhere. I guess I'll monitor my oil level too while driving and while sitting and see what happens, but let me know down below if you guys had an absurd amount of sludge above the alternator. The alternator does look very clean, so it is a sign that nothing really is dripping or nothing's getting contaminated everywhere, but something's definitely building up right there. Core support is ready to go on. It is fully washed up and clean, as best as it's gonna get for right now. I'm not gonna make the same mistake twice, so before putting in headlights and doing anything else, I'm gonna basically mount this up as best as I can, not even fully bolt it, and that way I have access to the cable just in case anything weird happens. I'm gonna make sure that I get this lined up absolutely perfectly and there's no weird issues, and then we'll fully assemble everything after. Just for video evidence, close the hood, and a nice firm latch, no loose sides, no anything weird. Come around, pull the handle, hood pops up, no hesitation, nothing weird. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure everything is nice and tight. Only thing I did different, in the silver one, I literally just put everything back, and there's really no way to misalign this. I mean, the only thing I did was just basically put it where the other bolt hole marks were, and where the washer, the ring line were, and everything went, and I literally didn't see anything weird, but I guess I didn't pay enough attention. But really, I didn't really do anything other than get a ruler and make sure that these are symmetrical on each side. But other than that, it's literally the same thing. Who knows? I'll have to go back and look at it, and maybe I'll see something different, but so far so good. Let me tighten this up and make sure we're good. Once again, we have made some progress. These actually are super bright, I think. Let me check to verify. It's kind of hard to tell in the garage, but these are looking way brighter than normal, so everything is good. The only problem I encountered when testing the lights, I turned on the actual headlight and this one did not come on. This plug right here, it's missing the thing. Trying to take it off, it literally was so stuck on there. I was using a tiny little pry tool to help me out, and it was barely coming off. And then once it came off, all I did was blow on the plug and then put it back in, and now it's working. So again, something else we're most likely gonna have to address, but I do have a parts headlight, and it is for the driver's side. So if I need it, worst case, I have the ballast and the headlight, and then I took the whole entire harness from an 03. So worst case scenario, if this plug is just not cooperating and I have issues later on, I have a whole entire separate plug. I can easily swap that over and we'll splice in a new one. We've made really good progress so far. I think the next step should be the strut bar, just to get that out of the way. I'm trying to think. I don't think it should interrupt anything with the ABS unit. I should still be able to get that out, no problem. Worst case, the strut bar is literally 6 bolts to take it all the way out, and then you can just disconnect it from either side you choose. So let's go ahead and put that on. Let me take out the cabin air filters, and let's put the Dinan strut bar on. Seems to be a good thing I took these filters out. They seem to be full of leaves and a bunch of other crap, but we are Dinan strut barred up. We have the bar on. We have all engine bay Dinan goodies. We got intakes, MAFs, strut bar. I don't know how many points that is technically to get a Dinan badge. I know the MAFs are 3. That intake might be 3, bar might be 3, so that's 9, and you're supposed to get 10 to get an actual badge on the car. And we have the Dinan mufflers that we still need to take off of the titanium car, so that'll be the full 10 points for a Dinan badge and actually be an actual badged S1. So obviously we got to take the muffler off so we could put this badge to use. We didn't do all this work for nothing. We kept that badge to keep all the Dinan goodies together, and this was a lot of work tonight, and surprisingly this looks amazing. I'm very happy with our results. It looks very clean, very tidy. The engine bay cleaned up a lot with just us wiping down a few things. So I'm gonna go ahead and tidy up the car, throw on the front bumper, and that should be good for today. Again, just a quick recap. So we have our filter right here, our air pump mounted to our beautiful bracket. We had to customize everything lined up great down here. We have our Euro headlights. We have our actual intake, the maps, the strut bar, everything's cleaned. Our Dinan S1 badge. We cleaned up the wiring a bunch, cleaned up everything while we were in here. Still needs a lot of cleaning and a lot of work, but we have basically done it. We have converted almost fully, except for exhaust, but good reason. I don't have a welder, I don't know how to weld, and I don't have anything to cut it off, and I don't want two cars with missing mufflers. Until then, that's basically fully complete for a Dinan S1 conversion. This is about as in-depth as we could get it. I do have a relocation sensor for the temp sensor, so we're gonna have to do that in the probably one of the next few episodes. We'll take care of that and get that IAT sensor relocated to get this thing running a little bit better. Do let me know in the comments, is it 100% required to run a Dinan software or some sort of tune with the maps, or is that only to get the actual performance? Because I really don't want to mess with tuning software right now. I would at least want to get the car where I want it, and then we could worry about a tune. Let me know in the comments, please. I am very much in need of that information. That's about it for this episode, boys. We are back together. The front bumper is on. It does need a little bit of a play with a fitment. It lines up decent, but it could go in a little bit. But it's definitely because of the pork chops and because of the fender liner. This side is way better. But the fender liner and the pork chop on this side is missing, so there's really nothing to hold it into. And I'm sure the clips that attach the rebar to the bumper, those are always destroyed, so I'm sure it's in need of those. So again, another day. I just wanted to get this car fully back together. It's 6:40 in the morning, so quick little, I don't know what it was. I don't even remember what time we started. Probably like 4 or 5 hours of work, and I'm happy with what we got done. We are fully back together. Dinan S1 swapped. I went ahead and cleaned up a little bit. The floor is disgusting from spraying stuff down, but we're together. We got our mask, we got our intake, we got a strut bar, we got our headlights, we got our reinforcement bar. It's super early in the morning. I'm gonna get cleaned up and head inside. I'll start it just to make sure it starts, and then we're gonna go from there. This interior looks beautiful. That was the last 2 episodes. If you guys didn't watch that, go catch up on those after this. And let's make sure it starts up. Oh yeah, it's gonna be a little rough with these maps. If it's gonna continue to be like this, I'll put in stock maps. I do have some extras. Probably gonna need a tune for this, but we'll see. Maybe it just needs to relearn a little bit. We'll see how it is. I'm not sure if it'll relearn itself or it'll just be rough because we don't have a tune in it. Worst case, I do have literally extra maps that are stock sitting in the little toolbox shelf. So we'll see how it goes. I'm probably gonna assume that it'll need the stock maps, but at least we have the maps when we are ready for a tune. It's super simple to swap out. It's correcting itself pretty decently. I'll take it for a drive later today, and we'll see if it bucks or is rough, and then that'll be kind of the telltale sign. That's it for this one, everybody. I'm excited to do the big brake swap, the master cylinder upgrade, and then the ABS unit. I think that'll be one of our very next episodes on this. This is really all we have left. I gotta buy the brake bleeder, and I gotta buy the tool to suction out the brake fluid so that way we could do the master cylinder upgrade. I have to look into the coding for the ABS. I have no idea how to do that. I've been saying I'm gonna do it, but that's the only thing I'm lagging on, is I have no idea about the coding part. I don't want to mess anything up, so I have to do my research now, because it's the next thing that we need to do for this car, and probably the best thing that will make this thing drive and feel better. Then we'll throw on StopTech BBK E65 master cylinder, and get some new fluid in here, make sure everything's good. And then other than that, this car feels very good. The interior is beautiful. We're just gonna keep doing some upgrades. I want to do an exhaust somewhat on this car. We got to take the Dinan mufflers off the silver or the titanium silver car and put them on here, and we'll probably do no cats with stock resonator and Dinan muffler. That should be a good setup. And yeah, so I appreciate everyone who watched. So like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. Literally 7 a.m. sunrise out, my time to shower and go to sleep. So thank you everyone who watched. Like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below, and we'll get back to you ASAP with some more updates in another episode. Later, guys.